I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to the Dice Tower. Today I'm talking about my top 10 multiplayer abstract games. Now, this is kind of an interesting list. So, abstract games are games with no theme. And so, or it's obvious there's not a theme. Like, you could argue chess is the theme of war. No. Chess, you're moving pieces to capture other pieces. Checkers. Most abstract games are 2 players. So, then, like I just mentioned, chess and checkers. There are some that aren't, and these are my 10 favorite. Now, how do I determine what's an abstract game? I just decided. How do I determine if it made my list? Well, I picked ones that I liked. So here we go. My top 10 abstract games that work with multiplayers. Number 10 is Glucks. Now, Glucks is a really pretty game, I think, in many ways, where you have these, it looks like a board of lights almost, and you're using these chips with dice on them. And what you're doing with them, the bigger numbers are pretty powerful because they help you control spots on the board, but they also make you jump really far, while a small number lets you jump less far. This one's kind of a hard one for me to give you an explanation of it, but you're moving around the board trying to control different areas using the sides of dice. It's unique and interesting, and I think it's a lot of fun. That's Glucks. Number 9 is Pueblo. Pueblo is a 3-dimensional game. Now, some people probably like Blocus 3D, or Rumus as it was called, but I like Pueblo. Every piece is the exact same. And in this game, you're taking these pieces and putting them down, and you are trying to make it so that your color cannot be seen. So you want to hide your pieces in the mix. There's this chief moving around the outside of the board, and if he sees your color, he's looking straight down a row, or sometimes looking from above, you get points, and you don't want points in this game. It's a very interesting game. It's out of print, I think, but if it's not like a hot game. You probably can find a copy of it. Worth checking out. Pueblo. Number 8 is Project L. There's a lot of polyomino games out there. I guess you could argue that most of them are abstract. Project L has no theme at all. You're taking little plastic Tetra shapes and putting them on cards. That's it. But it's really simple. On your turn, you can take a small piece, you can upgrade one of your pieces, you can take a card, or you can fill cards with your pieces. That's it. And it's fast, fun, really easy to get into, and has really cool components. I like it a lot, Project L. Number 7 is Bosque. All right, so Bosque has a theme. No, it doesn't. You don't use quotes in that one. Stop using quotes. Bosque's theme is about planting plants and dropping leaves, but that's not what it is. At the beginning of the game, you're putting out these trees, your pieces, and you're going to score points. You're trying to get them in the different rows and columns. The second half, they're going to drop leaves all over the board, and you're trying to make these groups of leaves out there. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty game. It looks like it has a theme, but it doesn't. So my number 7 is Bosque. Number 6 is Take It to the Limit. Take It to the Limit is a, so how would I say Take It to the Limit? It's a bingo-esque game, is what I call them. And Take It to the Limit, somebody will call out a tile. They'll draw a random tile. Everyone takes that same tile and puts it on their board. And then you're trying to make different rows and columns that match all the same color and number. And you get points for that. Or you can try to put suns and moons out based on what it is. There's a smaller version of it called Take It Easy, and that one also works really well. All right, my next one here, number 5, is Sagani. This is one I did not play when it first came out, and this is from Uwe Rosenberg, of all people, and this one also has a theme. Nature and elements and earth, fire, water, and air, and their spirits, and yada, 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 no one cares. In this one, you're playing out these little tiles and connecting them on the board, trying to create balance, and it's hard to explain. This is one that you have to go watch, but I like the idea of placing tiles out on the board and matching these numbers up and trying to put the right ones in the right place. It looks, again, this game looks like it should have a theme. It doesn't, and that's why I like it. That's Sagani. My number 4 is Axio. You probably haven't heard of Axio, but you may have heard of a game that's very similar to Axio called Ingenious. They're very similar games, both from Reiner Knizia. Axio is a game in which you are placing tiles, and again, Ingenious is the same thing. You're placing tiles on the board, and then you score points based on groups of colors that you connect to each other. And then you move points on each color. At the end of the game, you're going to score for your lowest color. There's some minor differences. Axio is squares. The Ingenious is hexagons, but they both play well. I like Axio a little bit better. That's my number 4. Number 3, Azul, Stained Glass of Sintra. Now, at this point in time, there's 4 Azul games. And the original Azul is by far the most popular, most famous. But my personal favorite is Azul Stained Glass of Sintra, in this game where you're collecting little tiles to make stained glass, which looks really cool. And it's very mean, very vicious. You're trying to make it so someone has to take too much glass, which can get them some very massive amounts of negative points. I don't know. I really like it. I think it has a lot of cool thought, and it looks really good. Any of these Azul games are good, but this one's my favorite, Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. Number 2 is Santorini, New York. I personally think Santorini, the original game, works best with 2 players. You can play it with 3. Santorini, New York, the follow-up to that, works well with multiplayers. In this game, there's a certain number of cards. Each cards can change from game to game, gives you powers as you're building up New York City. And you don't want to get stuck to where you can't build, or you're trying to jump your guy up on top of the 3rd building. And there's a lot of similarities. I would say it's about 60% the same as Santorini, but the card play here is where it's different, and the fact that I think it works better with multiple players. Thus putting it number 2 on my list, Santorini, New York. And my favorite abstract game from multiple people is another game from the good Dr. Brenner Knizia, and that's Through the Desert. Through the Desert is, yes, again, it has a theme of camels and stuff, whatever. On your turn, you place 2 camels on the board. That's it. It's a really simple game, but you're trying to make lengths of your camels. You're trying to shut off sections of the board. You're trying to run your camels through tokens that are worth 1, 2, or 3 points, connect them to oases, which are worth 5 points, have the longest one of each color at the end, while cutting each other off and going. This is a much lighter version of Go. Okay, I'm not calling this Go by any means, but this gives me the fun of Go and not melt my brain like Go does. Also, this works really well with multiple players. Fantastic game, and it's my favorite multiplayer abstract game, Go. Or Through the Desert. I'm saying Go myself. Through the Desert. What's your favorite? Let me know in the comments what your favorite multiple player abstract game. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.